Good morning, everyone. We are going to try this one more time. Philip Hall likes me, I reckon, maybe. Chapter 3. I never asked for no allergy. It is February. Mr. Barnes stopped the school bus along the side of the highway just at that spot where the dirt road leading to our farm meets the blacktop. First, Philip Hall gets off. Then I jumped off in front of the faded black and white sign at the intersection, which read, and I'm going to show it to you, if you can see it, I hope. Which read, 1 mile, Lambert Farm, good turkeys, good pigs. As I took a flying leap across the frozen drainage ditch that separated the road from the field, I heard Philip calling me. Hey, Beth! He was still standing on the blacktop, just where the bus left him. You oughtn't to be going through the field. You might step into an ice puddle. Of all days, to have to stop and start explaining things to Philip Hall. But at any other time, I'd be thinking that he wouldn't be fretting about my feet if he didn't really like me. Now, would he? Frosty feet ain't nothing, I told him, when you have a spanking new puppy waiting to meet you. What if Mr. Grant wouldn't swap a collie dog for one of your pa's turkeys? Asked Philip, grinning as though he hoped it was so. That's all you know. When I left the house this morning, my pa was picking out 6 of our fattest turkeys for swapping. I turned and began running across the field. Well, 1 collie dog is worth more than 6 of your old turkeys, called Philip. I kept on running, pretending not to hear. And anyway, everybody loves to eat turkey, don't they? When I reached the rise in the field, I could see our house a nice pale green. It always surprised me a little to see the house painted because until last year, the weathered boards had never, ever seen a lick of paint. That was the year Pa sold might near 300 turkeys, not even speaking about the 42 pigs. And that was when Pa asked Ma what it was she wanted most. And she said that all her life she had wanted to live in a painted house, especially in a house that was painted green. As I came closer, I could see the chocolate brownness of my mama against the paleness of the porch. She was hanging work-worn overalls across the porch clothesline. Ma used to always be finished with the laundry by this time of day, but she says that carrying a baby inside tends to slow a person down a mite. I tiptoed up behind her and threw my arms as far as they would go, which was about half the distance, around her ever-widening waist. "Ah!" she jumped. "What do you mean scaring me like that? Out of my wits, girl? Where is he?" I asked. "Where's the collie?" She put on her "I'm not fixing to listen to any nonsense" face and said, "I don't know nothing about no collie." "Did Pa make the swap? Did he? Get out of here, girl. Go on into the kitchen." "Tell me Pa got the collie," I pleaded. "Now, did he?" Her mouth was still set in that no-nonsense way of hers, but it was different with her eyes. Her eyes were filled with pure pleasure. "And I told you," she said, "to get into the kitchen, didn't I?" Suddenly I understood. I threw open the screen door and, without waiting to close it gently behind me, ran in a straight line through the living room and into the kitchen. And then I saw him. There in a cardboard carton, next to the cook stove, was a reddish-brown puppy with a circle of white, fluffy hair wringing his neck and spilling down to his chest. I dropped to my knees and showed my open palms. "Yeah, puppy, beautiful little collie puppy." He's beautiful, sure enough, said Ma from behind. The collie just looked at me for a few moments. Then he got to his feet and trotted over. And you're friendly, too, I said, patting his back. Hey, that would be a good name for you. Friendly, said Ma, smacking her lips like she was word tasting. That's a right good name. I gave Friendly a hug and a kiss. I will now name you Aachoo. I tried again. I will now name Aachoo. Ma shook her head the way she does when she catches me at mischief. You done gone and got yourself a cold now, didn't you? Aachoo. I now name you Friendly, I said at last. By bedtime I was sneezing constantly, and water kept pouring from my sore, itchy eyes. But thank goodness, all my sneezing didn't seem to bother Friendly, who slept peacefully in his cardboard carton at the foot of my bed. I could hear my folks in the kitchen talking about what they was always talking about these days, names for our soon-to-be-born baby. When they finally titled that topic, Ma said, Beth got me worried. All them wheezing sounds coming from her chest. And here is Beth seeing her puppy for the first time. I seen Doc Brenner down in town this afternoon, said Pa. He asked me to kill and clean one of our 20-pound birds. He said he'd stop by this evening and pick it up. When he comes by, said Ma, ask him to kindly take a look at our bed. I climbed out of bed to take off my raggedy tail of a nightgown and put on the one that Grandma had given me last Christmas. She had made it out of a sack of fairy flake flour, but she dyed it a bright, brilliant orange. It was nice. Friendly started to bark. Don't you be frightened, little Friendly. It's only me, only Beth. While I patted my new pet, I told him how glad I was that he had come to live with us. You're going to like it here, you'll see. I'm going to bring all my friends to meet you. Philip Hall and Susan and Bonnie, Jenny, Esther. You're going to like all my friends, Friendly, but you're going to like me best of all. I reckon maybe. Ma called out, Is you out of bed, Beth? I jumped back into bed before answering. No, ma'am. I'm right here in bed. I kept my eyes open, waiting for the doctor to come, but after a while my eyelids came together. Sleep stood by waiting for me to fall asleep. Sleep. Let me take a look at my old friend Beth, said a big voice. My cheeks were being patted. Doctor's here, Beth, honey, Ma was saying. I pulled myself up to sitting and looked into the face of Doc Brenner, who said, This won't hurt, as he placed a freezing stethoscope on my chest. It's cold, I jumped. He rubbed the stethoscope warm with his hands. That doesn't sound much like the Beth Lambert who caught those turkey-thieving cooks with only a... But again his laughing interfered with all his talking, so I just said, with only a BB gun, while the doctor laughed all the harder. After wiping away all the tears that his laughter shook loose, Dr. Brenner... Bernard M. Brenner became fully professional. Just breathe naturally, he said as he put the warm tube back on my chest. He listened quietly without saying a word. Then he took the stethoscope from his ears. I heard some wheezing sounds coming from your chest. Tell me, how do your eyes feel? They feel like I want to grab them out of their sockets and give them a good scratching. They're so itchy. Uh-huh. answered Dr. Brenner, as though he knew all about itchy eyes. Beth, can you remember when all this sneezing and wheezing began? Across the room, my sister turned over in her bed and let out a groan without once opening her eyes. It was as if Anne was making a complaint that her sleep was being disturbed by inconsiderate folks. Yes, I told the doctor. It all started when I met Friendly. Friendly must have heard his name and called because he jumped out of his carton and jogged floppily on over. Hello, Friendly little dog. I picked him up and gave him a hug and kiss. Aachoo! Aachoo! Beth, said Dr. Brenner, running his fingers through his silver hair. I'm sorry to do this, but I'm going to have to tell you something. Something you're not going to like hearing. I believe you have an allergy to Friendly. Oh, no, sir, I don't, I cried. I don't have one, honest. I never asked for no allergy. Why, I don't even know what that means. Dr. Brenner took my hand. It simply means that Friendly's dog hair is making you sick. And furthermore, it means that he must be returned to wherever he came from. But Friendly's my dog. He belongs to me, and he's never going back to that kennel. I felt tears filling up in my eyes. I love Friendly, and Friendly loves me. I know you love one another, agreed Dr. Brenner. But all this sneezing, wheezing, and red eyes is your body's way of telling you something. I shook my head no. Dr. Brenner nodded his head yes. Bodies don't need to say fancy words like allergic rhinitis or any words at all, Beth. When your throat is right, you don't wait to hear the word water before taking a drink. And do you really need the school's lunch bell to ring before you know when it's time to eat? Well, now your body is saying something just as important. Listen to it, he said, cupping his hand around his ear. But the only sound in the room was the hissing noise coming from my own chest. When the morning sun came flooding through my bedroom window, my eyes opened, and I remembered about the allergy. Was it really only a dream? Friendly, I called. Come here, little Friendly. But Friendly didn't come, and I didn't hear him either. I jumped to the foot of my bed. The cardboard box was empty. They've taken it back to Mr. Grant's kennel. I was just about to shout out for Friendly when outside the kitchen window I heard Luther's and Ann's voices. Get that ball, Friendly. Friendly, you going to get that ball? Ma laughed. That dog ain't fixing to do nothing he ain't a mind to do. I went out the kitchen door, still wearing my orange nightgown, and sat down on the back steps next to her. She put her arm around me and gave me a quick squeeze. How you feeling, honey babe? I thought about her question. My chest felt as though it was still filled up with old swamp water, while my head carried around last night's headache. Finally, I gave my answer. I'm okay, Mama, I reckon. After you come home from school, I want you to take a little nap. Never mind them chores, just put your head down on the pillow and nap. 'Cause you spent half the night crying into your pillow. About what the doctor said. About taking Friendly back to the kennel. We're not going to listen to that, are we? She looked past me out to where Luther and Ann were playing with Friendly. Life don't always be the way we want it to be. Life be the way it is. Ain't nothing we can do. You can't take him back, I shouted. Besides, Mr. Grant's probably eating up all turkeys. Well, if he did, answered Ma. You don't understand, I said, bringing my voice back down to size. I need Friendly. Luther was 3, And Ann was 2 when I was born, so they had me. But I never had nothing little and soft to... I told you, she said, that life be the way it be. Ain't nothing we can do. But if you misses that school bus, there is something I can do. I can take a switch to you. So get. At school, I felt better and worse. Better because I didn't sneeze or wheeze, and even my eyes stopped itching and watering. And worse because tonight, after supper, Friendly was going back to Mr. Grant's kennel. If only I had some magic. One time I remembered my teacher, Miss Johnson, pointing to shelves of books and saying that they held many secrets. Could one of her books hold the secret of making the allergy go and the dog stay? At recess, she stood on the 3-step ladder to bring down a heavy book from the top shelf. This book may have the secret we're looking for, she said, pointing to a page. Right here, she whispered, the way people do when they're telling secrets. It says that people who have an allergy to long-haired dogs, like the collie, might not have an allergy to a short-haired dog, like the Chihuahua. At the kennel, I held Friendly close to me while Pa explained about the allergy to Mr. Grant. We don't breed Chihuahuas, said the kennel owner, but we happen to have one that I got for arranging a mating between a male Chihuahua from Paraguay and a female Chihuahua from Walnut Ridge. So you sure are welcome to swap, he said, reaching out for Friendly. Wait, I said, a person has to say goodbye, don't they? I looked into Friendly's eyes and wondered how I could make him understand. I never wanted to get rid of you, Friendly. I only wanted to get rid of the allergy. He licked my ear, almost as if to tell me not to worry because any dog as friendly would get along just fine. Again, Mr. Grant reached out, only this time I gave him my Friendly. As he took him away, I heard him say, Rest of the collies gonna be mighty happy to see you again. When he returned, Friendly wasn't with him. An allergy sure is a bothersome thing, said Mr. Grant. Reason I know is because I've got an allergy ever since I was about your age. It was so hard to believe. You got yourself an allergy to collies, too? I asked. Nope, Mr. Grant pointed to the bend in his arm, suntanned arm. Tomatoes. That's what gets my allergies going. One tomato and my arm breaks out like a strawberry patch. Tomatoes don't bother me a bit, I said proudly. Reckon that's what an allergy is, said Mr. Grant. It's what don't bother some folks bothers other folks a whole lot. When we stopped in front of the Chihuahua's run, a tiny fellow came rushing to the gate barking. That's a dog for me, I said. On the drive back home, I held the Chihuahua in my lap, while my folks went back to trying to pick out a baby name. I was hoping they'd find a better name for the baby than they found for me. When Pa turned off the highway onto the dirt road leading to our farm, the puppy jumped off my lap. He stood on his toes, pressing his nose against the truck's window. I hollered, Looky there! Look at Tippy Toes! Oh, said Ma, turning her head. Now ain't that something? And what a fine name for him, too. I put my hands against the little dog's cheeks and gave him a kiss between the eyes. I now name you, Aachoo! Oh, no, said Ma and Pa exactly the same time. But finally I was able to say I now name you. By the time I crawled into bed, my eyes were red and itchy. My nose was sneezy and my chest was wheezy. Ma stood at my doorway. Tippy Toes is going to sleep next to the cook stove tonight, but tomorrow evening we're going to take him back. I shook my head. No, Mama, don't say that. I don't care nothing about no little allergy. Cross my heart, I don't. All I care about is my little dog, my own little Tippy Toes. Girl, you ain't talking nothing but a heap of foolishness. I ain't about to let you walk around sick, not as long as I'm your mama, 'cause I ain't that kind of mama. Now, you get yourself to sleep. At first recess, I told Miss Johnson about having an allergy, not just to long-haired dogs, but to short-haired ones, too. Maybe I can find still another secret in that book, she said, bringing down the book again. She fingered through a lot of pages before she finally began to read aloud. People who have an allergy to both long-haired and short-haired dogs might not have an allergy to poodles, as they are the only dogs that never shed hair. Pa explained to Mr. Grant what I'd learned from the book, so we'll be much obliged if you'll kindly swap Tippy Toes here for one of your poodles. Fine with me, said Mr. Grant, reaching for Tippy Toes. Wait, I said, holding on to the little one for another moment. A person still has to say goodbye. I patted his chin. He licked my fingers. Goodbye, little boy, little Tippy Toes. I'm sorry you couldn't be my dog. I closed my eyes as I gave him over to Mr. Grant, who took him away. When he came back, he said, Come along, folks. Let me reintroduce you to my poodles. We followed him until he stopped at the gate of a chain-link fence. Poodles may be just the right dog for a girl with an allergy, he said, pointing out two white dogs that looked more like fluffy powder puffs than real dogs. Because they never have dandruff or doggy odor. And the book is right. They never shed a single hair. He unhooked the gate and I walked in saying, This time I'm going to be lucky. This time I hope I'm going to be lucky. Hope so, said Ma and Pa exactly the same moment. Both poodles walked over to say hello. They were quite polite. I bent down and one of the puppies came closer. Is it you? I asked him. He took one step closer, resting his fluffy little head in my hand. I whispered, I'm going to take real good care of you. Inside the crowded cab of the pickup truck, I held the poodle puppy on my lap as Pa turned on the headlights and started for home. My patting must have relaxed the little dog, 'cause he closed his eyes and went to sleep. After a while, Ma said, I think we ought to name the baby after my great-aunt Alberta. Pa's nose crinkled. What you want to name our baby after her for? My Ma's nose climbed. Ain't she my grandma's sister? The oldest living member of my family? That nosy old lady, said Pa. Aunt Alberta ain't one bit nosy, Ma corrected. What she is interested. I'm disappointed in you, Mr. Eugene Lamp. Have y'all noticed? I asked, hoping that my interruption would stop an argument from starting, that I haven't sneezed even one time. Ma smiled. Ain't it the truth? And Puppy will never have to go back to Mr. Grant's, I said. Puffy? Asked Pa in surprise. Don't you see, I asked, how he's all puffy, like cotton candy? Ma turned to look at Pa. Beth has thought up 3 good names for 3 dogs while we is sitting fussing over one name for our baby. Puppy opened his eyes and looked around. You're here, Puffy, I said, putting my face into his white fluffiness, and you're always going to be my Lord, don't go telling me I heard what I think I heard, said Ma, fixing her eyes on the ceiling of the truck. It ain't what you think, I said quickly. Aachoo! I really think I'm catching Billy Boy Williams' cold. He had one at school today. He sneezed all over the place. Choo, 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 like that, spreading his germs all about. Pa drove the truck over to the side of the road and turned off the engine. Beth, I is sorry to disappoint you. I know how much you wanted a pup, but there ain't nothing I can do. If you take him back, I warned, I ain't never going to live home again. For the rest of my life, I'm going to live in the kennel with Fluffy, Puffy. Ma and Mama patted my hand. In this life, you got to be happy about the good things and brave about the bad things. I don't want to be brave, I shouted. All I want is my little dog. Pa started up the truck, made a U-turn onto the highway, and headed back toward the kennel. Ain't nothing in this world we can do, he said, shaking his head. The next morning I asked Miss Johnson to bring down that book again, but after a while we stopped reading. It didn't have any more secrets to tell. I walked away because I didn't have a single word for a single solitary soul. But later in the afternoon I told her, I guess it's nobody's fault, but I reckon I'm learning to be brave about things I don't like. And I want you to know, said Miss Johnson, taking off her glasses, that I think you're learning very well. When the school bus stopped in front of our sign, I jumped off and with a running leap crossed the ditch. How come you shortcutting through the field again? Called Philip Hall. Ain't no dog waiting for you today. Guess I know that, I said, wondering how I could have forgotten. And yet for some reason I really was in a hurry to get home. When I reached the rise, I could see the chocolate brown outline of my mother. But it didn't look like her. Not exactly. After I passed the vegetable garden, I could see that it wasn't her. It was my grandmother. I started running my fast run. Grandma! Grandma, hello! Howdy there, Beth, babe, she called back. I ran into her arms as she closed them around me. How come you're here all the way from Walnut Ridge? Grandma smiled. I came to see my new grandbaby, born this very morning, a few minutes after 9. Where are they? I asked. Shh, she said, pointing to the inside of the house. They are both real fine, but they're resting just now. I asked, Is it a brother? A brother for you? A grandson for me? She said, hugging me some more. I danced a circle around her. My own little brother, he's going to be fun to take care of and fun to play with. Sometimes boys are almost as much fun to play with as girls. I've noticed that. Reckon I've noticed that too, said Grandma, joining my dance. What's my brother's name? Grandma stopped dancing. Your folks ain't come to no decision on that, she said. Don't fret about that, I told her. I happen to be good at names. Then I heard Pa calling from inside the house. Beth, come on in and meet up with your brother. I closed the screen door quietly behind me, the way I always remember to do when there is a visitor in the house. Pa stood at the door of his and Ma's bedroom and waved me on. I want you to see something real pretty, he said. Ma was sitting up in bed, propped up by 2 pillows. She was wearing her sick nightgown, the pink one with the lace running around the neck and collar. When I used to remind her that she ought to get some wear out of it, 'cause she's never been sick a day in her life, Ma always said. We'll see. As I come closer, I saw something in her arms that I had never seen there before. A baby. Ma said, fold your arms. Like this? I asked. Just like that, she said, placing my soft little brother in my arms. Oh, I said, touching my lips to his warm head. You are a beautiful baby brother. Baby brother Benjamin. Benjamin? Asked Ma. Benjamin? Benjamin? Oh, Lordy, yes, that's it. That's his name. Pa smiled. Benjamin is a good, strong name for a boy. Finally, said Grandma, coming into the room, a name for the baby. I put my face next to Benjamin's and breathed in deep. I didn't sneeze. You're always going to be our baby, Benjamin, I whispered into his ears. And anyway, Mr. Grant would know what to do with a real baby. And that's the end of chapter 3 of Philip Hall Likes Me, I reckon, maybe. See you next time. Until then, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May he make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and grant you